Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for the chat earlier. Really enjoyed the chat we had. I'm so excited to see, to be part of the project. And so, in order to help me understand, you know, what are the potential hurdles and challenges that might, um, along the journey, right? The roadmap towards the end of the year. So what I did was I immediately decided to build this really fast mockup. It's an interactive mockup, by the way. And so which is going to help me understand a lot of things, not just the hurdles, the challenges, but it will also help me kind of decide how to kind of like design the timeline, the roadmap, the tech stack, what is the tech stack progression looks like, how many phases we want to do, for each progression of the tech stack and stuff like that. Like it is super useful. And I'm gonna touch that later. But first of all, let me just walk you through the demo. And so here you have create new world or portal, and then this is the existing active portals. This is gonna create a new world. And because we don't have actual multiplayers to join our room, so what I did was I decided to incorporate AI bots into this. Um, and the AI bots. This is going to be very interesting, because it depends what we decide to choose in terms of features. We can still launch these immersive co-op multiplayer games with just humans to join it, but on the same time, I do feel like we should also leverage the um, the usage of AI, because I'll share you a use case, right? One thing that I hate the most when I join any lobby, multiplayer game rooms and stuff like that is the absence of actual humans to play with me, right? And so what happens is I ended up dropping off the site if there's like nobody in the 10 minutes, 30 minutes, like I would wait too long. And so now let me speak in terms of the growth hacking metrics, okay? One of the keys whenever we want to fundraise, one of the things that the investor will look at is our churn rate. What is our churn rate? What is the take up? What is the usage rate and stuff like that? So it's super important that that I believe that this AI companion component, the AI bots component, should be part of the roadmap as well, because we want to ensure a lesser churn rate, a lesser drop off rate. We want the user to be, there's a metrics in Google Analytics called dwell time, time on page, right? In this case, time on app, what is the retention period of the users in app. And so the impact of having AI companion should help us with that two goals, increase retention rate, the retention period in app. Secondly is the reduced churn rate or drop off rate so that the user stays longer in the server. Okay, so I'm gonna create new world here, and then so again, um, one of the other values that investors look at when it comes to product, right, is they normally would ask questions like, what is the time taken for users to perceive the core product value, right? So initially what I did was I kind of like jumble up everything, so you can quest here, you can design your mini quest here, your end quest, whatever, with AI and stuff like that, and then bum 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 bum, and then I ended up deleting all that, and I decided to only do that later in the world building itself, because in my opinion, when it comes to that principle, we want the users to have no barriers, along the way, which should increase conversion rate, and also it will reduce the time taken for users to understand and perceive the actual value of the product. So here they only just need to just um, join, right? And then no matter humans or AI here, we can add AI bots, mix with humans, and then we can launch game, right? Launch the game room or the portal, whatever we want to call it. So there we go. So right now I'm using a very simple HTML5 canvas to build this, and you can literally You can move using your keyboard arrows, or you can use this to teleport like that. And so these just simple things. It's not even actual. I think the world immersive co-op game should be much more sophisticated than this. But this should allow you guys to see what's going on. Like what am I doing here? Is that I'm adding this AI that will roam around and try to simulate like what a human would do, which is to together co-op with us to build the world, right? And so for this build, I'm not building terrains or all this advanced stuff. I'm starting with really small things like items, so that you guys can see like this is right now is working, right? So all the AI will together try to add certain things. Even I can add tower, add treasure here, so you can see it will spawn all across, right? And then right now, I'm just using a basic floor plan. Again, this is inspired by Pokemon. I played Game Boy growing up, and I think and I kind of want to leverage whatever experience that I had into here. So here, the world building starts with a floor theme that is Pokemon inspired. You can literally change the floor plan even further. You can even make it bigger. With the later build, the intention is to allow users, makers to to click to drag the map so that you can expand the map even further. And you can even choose whatever floor theme that you want to use and everything, and whether and then is there any constriction, of the limitation, um barriers of where the limit, I call it, the where the movement stops and everything. And so all the movements will then move within the container limit, where and then once we add prompts, we allow the users to use the AI prompts to to keep generating. Then we would allow the boundaries to be bigger, right? The bounds to be much bigger than whatever what it is right now. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of things being added already. So total elements 17, items 4, structures 4. So yeah, this is this is just the simplest one. I just want to show you. So this is the simplest demo that I can work out in a very quick time. And so one thing that I want to cover is the tech stack. Excuse me. So phase A, phase B, phase C. So there'll be three phases. Phase A is what I call um it's not really MVP. It's like really pre-MVP. It's more like what I call the definition gathering stage, which is where in any product development, I'm pretty sure you guys know that it is always best to do the grooming of the definitions in order for us to for developers to fully understand what is it that is going to be built, right? In this case, I am trying to find the definition as well. That's why I created this very simple demo, because visual always works best to help me understand and what to do next. It helps us create a baseline of where it is that we are at right now. And then where we want to improve it, we have a benchmark, where we want to move next. So phase A would normally typically run for like a month or so. Let's say we start today and then we ended it by 31st August. So I'll be doing this rapid deployment, of very simple lightweight features. We keep experimenting here and there. We keep grooming the definition. We record and document it in Jira. For example, I love Jira, the Atlassian Jira, where we can create the project management template, the with the Kanban board and the sprint planning and stuff like that, with all features, all user stories, the whatever plugin into each ticket or each epic, where it will each epic will contain the sub tickets and so forth. So that, right? Then we go to phase B. Phase B is also super important. The tech stack for phase B is literally the most important part because it has to be the mediator. It has to be something that can support all cycles, all phases, right? It can be supported. So it is like a middleman that, that can interact and that is compatible with all phases. So for example, I give an example like here, we could use pixie.js or phaser.js. But from my experience, phaser.js has a much more better compatibility when you're trying to migrate the code to Unity. You don't have to do a lot of back and forth major revamp because the one thing that we want to prevent whenever we cross a phase, right, is to restart everything from scratch again, which is really is a waste of time, it's a waste of effort. Whatever that we're doing right now, the ideal way is to first create a foundation that can later be built, and it will be scalable and gets bigger, right? Not in a way where we destroy everything just to build a new one, which is which I know there's a lot of there's a lot of startups and there's a lot of cases where that can work as well. But in my preference, I prefer we build a foundation, we build a middle stack, a middle phase stack that works for later as well. For example, and in this case, Phaser, which works perfectly where we can still maintain the ECS, the game logics, the core logics can still be maintained while we change the engine from Phaser to Unity on Unreal. And then for the backend, for the grooming, the definition, the rapid deployment part is we're gonna use the simple one, Express, Node.js, WebSocket, stuff like that. And then over time, we will then need to use stuff like Coliseus. And here, one other criteria that I'm looking at for the middle stack, the phase B, is to ensure that we have a very cheap stack, cheap tech stack, because we are still pre-funding this, right? We don't have a lot of revenues. The last thing I want is for us to burn a lot of runway to the tech stack, which is definitely not going to happen until we make money to justify the spending on the tech stack. So Coliseus is very cheap to spin up to spin up the multiplayer server is very cheap. Even I know that you guys I remember seeing that you guys suggested Vercel somewhere. We can use that. However, I do want to recommend because Vercel, one thing that Vercel Vercel is good when it comes to front end deployments, but because right now we're trying to produce a full stack app, so I would recommend Render or DigitalOcean with a Coliseus server as well. Spin up. Um, it again, this is all cheap. Where I definitely don't want to go to AWS or Azure or um, Microsoft Azure, Google, or whatever. It's definitely out of the um, out of the case, right? And so, yeah, we will only consider all this complexity only once we have some funding, and then only then, we can, basically look into like, for example, one thing that I love to do on Phase C is not only to get funding from the investors, but also to leverage the cloud scholarship credits, right? The cloud scholarship credits, which again, before this, I managed to get 100K scholarship credits for a different startup I was working on. But then remember, there's still a prerequisite. That's why Phase B is also going to be important. While I focus on the development, we need to make sure that there is enough pool of users, right, on the business side that they're able to sustain the future revenue. Like they're gonna be the future revenue for us. It will be even better if we are already charging them at this phase, because then it's going to be easy for us to pitch to investors. Even for me to get the scholarship credits, the 100K scholarship credits from Azure, they will always look at least 10K minimum MRR in order for us to in order for us to get that much of scholarship. So, that's how I strengthen the pitch deck in order to present not only to Azure, Microsoft, whatever, like even to investors, venture capitals. They all want to see at least revenue. coming in at some point, one-on-one growth, even if it's not a lot, there is a this significant one-on-one growth that would be really great. So yeah, Coliseus on phase B, Photon Fusion, Play Fab on when we've done phase C, and then um Unity is because we want it, or Unreal because we, let's say if we want to do with 3D, assuming we want to do 3D, um, but then again, this is again subject to discussion, we can always see whether, like I say, there are still successful games out there that don't even need to build on 3D, and they still can make money with just 2D, right? So we'll have to see how the market responds during the next 4 months. So, and then in case if we want to do AI integration, right? The world building is going to involve a lot of things that we have to somewhat train the AI, in order to build stuff like characters, avatars, um, the terrain, the world building terrain, the let's say if, for example, if we're creating an RPG or like a mini war game kind, we're gonna need some weapons and stuff like that, right? For them to spawn, and then stuff like that, and so we're gonna need more beyond just simple OpenAI. It has to be a length chain agents, because we want a persistent NPC memory, not only NPC memory, but persisting the modeling memory, because we're gonna somewhat pre-render all this. We're gonna train this in a, like, for example, in a GPU, for the AI to train itself, to kind of estimate and kind of predict what will the users be asking for, and then somewhat those things are already ready to to cook, right, ready to bake, right, rather than building from the start. Is going to be really it's going to be really slow. I'm talking about optimization here, but talking about speed here. So we're going to need to use those things like on-device LLM and stuff like that as well for offline features. Again, this is all speed and optimization stuff, okay? And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope that this covers what you guys need to know. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, and hopefully to hear from you guys soon. All right, cheers, take care.